So, after months and months of debating and rumors and all that, we finally have our Han Solo for the Han Solo anthology film, which is scheduled to come out, I believe, 2018. 2018. Yeah, and it's a guy I've sadly never heard of, which is good. You can always go with an unknown. His name is Alden Ehrenreich. I can't pronounce that last name, but yeah, Alden Ehrenreich. Again, I cannot pronounce that last name. Has been officially cast out of hundreds and hundreds of other people to play Han Solo. Awesome! That's all I can say. Awesome. The more I think about it, like at first I was really against the idea of of them making a Han Solo film, but Disney making a Han Solo film, because I feel like the Star Wars universe, you can do so much more with this with this universe, more than just focusing on the main characters, like the Rogue One story, the story of how the Rebellion got their first win by stealing the plans for the Death Star. That's a cool story to tell. And I always thought, I don't know if I want to hear the origins of Han Solo, because I don't think I need that kind of backstory, and I can't really see anyone else outside of, Harrison Ford playing that character, So I was kind of really against it, but then I kind of thought, Miller and Lord are kind of behind Miller and Lord are behind this. They've given up. Apparently, they've jumped ship from The Flash. Yeah, they've apparently jumped ship for the Flash movie to this because, in case you haven't noticed, Batman v Superman kind of sucked. So the DC universe is kind of in the middle of a crisis. I guess everything depends on Suicide Squad at this moment. But yeah, they've jumped ship from the Flash. So whatever, and kind of went on to do something a little more, hey, we can do something awesome, and we know it's going to stay around. That's how I kind of feel, is that they're going to, they decide to stay with something a little more, with a little more better footing in the film industry, so, yay. That's how I kind of feel, and good on them, because Disney and Star Wars, that's going to be a constant moneymaker, as well as that's going to get them into big, more and more larger things. Obviously, they've done 21 Jump Street. They were behind Clone High, which is an underrated show. Go watch that show. It's fucking beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of work. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off on a tangent. So when they were attached, I was like, okay, if anyone's going to tell an action with a story with a lot of action as well as some good humor. Oh yeah, they did the Lego Movie too. Why did I forget? The biggest thing for them, and the one thing everyone brings up, is of course the Lego Movie, because no one expected that movie to be that good. Honestly, when you first heard about it, did you honestly think the Lego Movie was going to be that awesome? I sure as fuck didn't. But yeah, Lego Movie was awesome. And the story, I think, I'm getting off topic, but yeah, sorry I kind of ranted on that, but yeah, I think they did the smart thing of just sticking with the Han Solo film, and jump ship from the Flash movie, bottom line. But yeah, getting back to this, bottom line, I'm kind of, with the creative team behind this, apparently they're writing and directing. Lawrence Kasdan, that guy behind Empire. That guy behind Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, this is going to be his final Star Wars film, and yeah, I was really impressed. Of course, he also wrote Force Awakens. So why am I? The more I hear about it, the more I'm like, okay. The more and more I learn about this, the more I'm more and more okay with a young Han Solo film. Again, it's not a story I want right out the gate. But at the same time, I could be cool with it. You know what I'm saying? I could, didn't want it, but now that it's happening, I'm kind of like, yeah, I can roll with this. So, with this Han Solo film, we don't know the exact story behind it. All that we know is that it's going to be, Han Solo growing up. I don't want it to be how Han met Chewbacca. I really do not want it to be the story of how Han met Chewbacca. I wouldn't mind if Chewbacca was already with him, and they go into a little backstory of how Han and Chewie met. But I don't want the whole movie to be how Han met Chewbacca. I want it to be, Han and Chewie hanging out together, like them, doing some smuggler shit. Because you got to remember, Han Solo was not the nicest guy. He was kind of an asshole. Even in A New Hope, he didn't have that moment of clarity until the end of the film. And if you go by the Phineas and Ferb Star Wars movie, he got that moment from talking to Isabella. So he was kind of always been a dick. He's always been kind of a bag of dicks before the end of A New Hope. So I kind of want them to emphasize on this younger Han Solo that he's not a nice guy. Oh, he's not terrible, but he's still, kind of a prick bag. So I want them to emphasize in this film that Han Solo, while he's not terrible and not like completely I'm gonna kill you the moment I find you kind of person, he's not he may just ditch you after getting the money. That's kind of the thing, is that at this point, credits are always kind of the thing for him and Chewie. And I think a really cool story is how he made the Kessel Run. That would be a great story to tell, of how he made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. Although, if you know science, parsecs is a measure of time rather than... there's a whole big thing with parsecs. It just sounds really cool. But there's a whole different kind of different type of science behind a parsec. But yeah, I would actually also like to see how the story of the Kessel Run. I would even like to see his time working for Jabba. That would be another great story to tell, is how, that big debt he collected from Jabba the Hutt. I would like to see, Jabba's first time, his first time doing a job for Jabba the Hutt. Maybe him and Chewie are assigned to do a job, and eventually this leads to the debt he owed, and he has to borrow credits from Jabba, and it eventually kind of culminates to the point where, this is the point where we see him, it gets to the point where it gets so large that eventually it leads to, the biggest bounty on his head throughout the entire Outer Rim. But yeah, I would be cool with that. I just kind of don't want to, I don't need to know the story of how Han met Chewbacca. I mean, you can go into a minor backstory of how, this is how I met, like an opening scene of how Chewie and Han met, like how they first met, because the original Dark Horse comics, Han was an Imperial pilot, and he was ordered to kill Chewbacca and his family, but he refused the order, and, ditched the Empire. He turned... he more or less went rogue on the Empire, and Chewbacca ran alongside him as his compatriot as a life debt. So that's how their friendship kind of started out. It was more like, you saved my family. I'm on your side now, buddy. I'm forever in your life debt, and by the way, Wookiees live a long-ass time. Hope you get used to it. So that's how it kind of turned out, and I would like to see them do the Imperial route, like, of Han being, younger Han being a member of the Empire, but I don't think they're going to go for that. I don't think they're going to do the original Dark Horse story. I'd love to see them do that, but it'll probably be that young Han Solo getting into a fight in like he's been arrested by the Empire, and then Chewbacca, who's also another Imperial prisoner, saves him from getting his ass kicked from some Trandoshan or some other weird ass alien, and the two of them just become cellmates and buddies, and then they eventually break out and they eventually find their way to escape, and then we follow them, like it says, it breaks out from that opening scene, and then it's 1 year later. So yeah, this will probably also be set in the 20-year gap between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, whereas, Rogue One is apparently set months before A New Hope. So that would be I think that's a cool place to take it, honestly. There's so many. Also, another thing I don't want from this film, I don't want to see Han's family. I really do not want to see Han Solo's family. I like it better that he's a loner, that he's a rogue, he doesn't really have any ties to anyone, so I really don't want to see, Han's father, or his mother, or mentions of his mother. You can just say, yeah, I've always been alone. My parents kind of ditched, my parents ditched me as a kid on the street, so kind of had to grow up being this. What other life was I supposed to pick after my parents said, later kid, bye. So yeah, I don't want to see a movie of Han reconnecting with his father or something to that nature. I just want to see Han Solo being a smuggler. That's the bottom line, people. I just want to see a film of Han and Chewbacca being smugglers and being, this like, just like a couple of dukes, just out in space. Just do Dukes of Hazzard, but in space. That might actually work, honestly. Dukes of Hazzard in space. Now you're probably thinking of that now, honestly. God, there's so many ways you could do this, but at the same time, there's so many ways you could do this and not make it interesting. Again, bringing up Han's parents, or the story of how Han met Chewie. There's ways you can do this and make it cool, but I feel like even with the creative team behind this film, I feel like the stuff I don't want to see, they could make cool. Like, it's stuff, if they do it, then I'll be like, oh, as long as they make it work, I'll be fine with it. But at the same time, I'm like, at the same time, I don't want this. But at the same time, I'm interested to see it happen. You know what I mean? That's how much faith I have in this creative team. I also have a pretty good feeling that this won't be like 21 Jump Street, where it will be like totally comedy, minimal action. I think these guys know how to balance action with humor, and I feel like this is the right character to do that with, honestly, to balance that kind of action and humor. And plus, you've got Lawrence Kasdan. This is his last hurrah. Apparently, who knows? Maybe he'll stick around for another Star Wars film as writing in the Star Wars universe. So obviously, he's going to go gung ho. And plus, he's written. He wrote. I think he wrote at least Last Crusade and the first Indiana Jones film. But anyway, I digress. So you guys tell me, what do you guys think of the casting for the Han Solo film? Do you guys like it? Do you guys hate it? Just comment below, let me know. And also, what kind of story do you want to see done with this Han Solo film? Do you want to see the Kessel Run? Do you want to see his time as a smuggler? Or do you want to see how Han met Chewbacca? There's so many ways you could do this story. Anyway, so once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.